Okay, so joining us is Charlotte Iserbyt to break down this information. Charlotte, it is wonderful to have you here. I want to go to the beginning, briefly, Skull and Bones, the tie-in, and then what the plan was, what you discovered in the 80s as the head of policy, #2 position, Department of Education, your whistleblowing, and now what's currently happening with education and your warning for the public. But we salute you for your work, and thank you for reissuing a new book. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thank you, all of your audience, for your support, through the years. I think the best place for people to go is, and you have that PDF, I believe, up on your website now. At least
yes.
I asked for that. It's a PDF, and it's called America's Road to Ruin. And there were two marvelous gals, researchers that I respect highly, very involved in the extraordinary research all of us have done on this, who heard that first video that was filmed on the river here, saw it, Alex's video, that those guys did a good job on, and it was in regard to education, but it really dealt with everything, right? It didn't deal so much with the order, and I will deal with that within about 2 minutes, but it dealt with my whole life since I went abroad when I was 21 years old. And it's beautifully done. It's a transcript. The gals transcribed that video, Alex. And then one of our most talented people, Deborah Niwa, who's in publishing and graphics and all, put it all together, even has a picture of my little dog on it and my husband and me, as a PDF. So your listeners can click on that, and they can read that. It's 16 pages. That's the video that your great guys did when they were up here, the first one. Then the second one was on the order, and I don't know what, that has not been transcribed, but I hope people will go and look at it because it has had a maximum number of hits. These have been very good videos, and by the way, I just think your guys are great. You have a tremendously capable staff there with creating these videos. But listen, I found out something about the order. It's great. Actually, I found out more about the order since you got onto it, and actually since Anthony Sutton got onto it, than I ever knew before, because obviously, as George Bush would say, it's a secret, so I can't talk about it. I mean, I don't know anything about it, basically, because it was a secret, and my father and grandfather couldn't talk about it, but I did know all their friends, and that really helped out a great deal. There's a tremendous amount. There's a very interesting chapter in Chris Milligan's book on the order. What's it called? Fleshing Out Skull and Bones. That book has not been reprinted, but it's a wonderful book, Fleshing Out Skull and Bones. And Chris Milligan knew Anthony Sutton, too. I did a chapter in there that's quite interesting. If anybody wants to go, I think it's you may be able to find that on the Internet, about my family's connections as well. Now, after the last interview that we did on this, I thought, I was looking through some of my old files, and I found a very interesting article from one of the little old patriotic newsletters that we managed to get around the country in regard to Harold Howe and how he was responsible under Lyndon Johnson for all the major changes in education using, of course, the minorities to bring about the destruction of our education system that we're looking at today with consolidation, getting rid of little schools and all this. Remember way back in the 60s, they said it was because they wanted the minorities to have a better education. That wasn't it at all. Harold Howe came out and said with this integration, he was going to totally turn the education system on its head. And so they put in busing, and they did all this, that. And here my little head is going, I'm thinking, Harold Howe, you know what? I'm going to go take a look in one of those.
Well, Charlotte, listen, I want you to get into that, but for you to say, I know nothing about it and giggle, you gave Anthony Sutton the documents, the materials, the roll list, the information when nothing was known. Your father, his father were Skull and Bones, and I mean, you do know a lot. Your son knows a ton, a lot of ground.
We know a lot, but listen, Alex, what I want people to know is this is so important. And you interrupted me, okay? Harold Howe. I looked him up. Here, you want to hear what he was at Skull and Bones? He's Skull and Bones. Now, this, I'm going to say, this convinces me that the order at Yale I didn't really have to be too much convinced. But when I found this out, I'm convinced that the order at Yale of Skull and Bones is responsible for the complete transformation of American education to workforce training, to considering our children as nothing but animals, which was the philosophy of Wilhelm Wundt in Leipzig, who trained all the American educators, starting with Hall, going over in the mid-1800s, trained them in how to not educate, but to train our children as animals using Pavlovian methods, Skinner. I know that's true. I'm absolutely convinced. And when I read that Harold, and I'm going to read Harold Hell, 1940, Skull and Bones. This is on page 128 of one of those little black books. It says here, education, born August 17, 1918, Hartford, Connecticut. Vice President for Education and Research, Ford Foundation, and the address. Residence, very fancy, always these guys, east side of New York City. Yale Corporation, elected member, successor trustee, principal, Walnut Hills High School, Cincinnati, 53 to 57, goes on Newton Junior College, etc. Superintendent of Schools, Scarsdale, New York. Director of Learning Institute of North Carolina, trustee, Vassar College, trustee, College Entrance Exam Board, U.S. Commissioner of Education, 1965 to 68. That's when the damage was done, if you recall, folks. The damage was...
Yeah, most people aren't experts on education like you are.
Well, that's when the total upheaval, putting outcomes, performance-based education, elementary and secondary education...
That's when dog training came in, and so that's why this is so key.
When the dog training came in, they changed from teaching students history, math, science, and all what they know in their head to what they can do, performance. Then they retrained all the teachers as little psychiatrists after 1965, which was what Buck Chisholm, the Canadian psychiatrist, good friend of Alger Hiss, called for, getting rid of the conscience. And if you're going to get rid of the conscience, you have to use psychiatry. And the reason they want to get rid of the conscience was, now let's get into the war business.
Stay there. We're going to come right back. But again, and you're perfectly suited to discover this. Family Who's Skull and Bones, you expose that. You're the person that first released information. Then you're an expert on education, former head of policy. And then you learn, hiding in plain view, that was their real secret power. And you trace it right back to the German mind control engineers they used on the Hessian mercenaries. You wonder why people can't think. You wonder why they seem to be so dumbed down. You wonder why they giggle at you when you talk about a new world order, because they've been Pavlovian conditioned that it's cute and funny and the info babe laughs on Fox News when they talk about it. So they're winners psychologically when they're losers. And then there's the chemicals in the water, everything else. But German scientists, it's on record, developed what became psychiatry. It's not Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud and all that. So, and of course, the Germans developed the Hessian soldiers who loved being slaves, loved being military slaves. They had slavery in Germany, white slaves, and they were happy to be white slaves. And they said, well, the British royalty was German royalty. It was really Transylvanian royalty. They'd always said, you've got the best soldier slaves. How do you do it? They don't even run off very often. Though some of them did actually run off here because there were big German communities. They broke their conditioning. They had the blue uniforms, the big black boots. That's where that all comes from, Hessian boots. And they were the main force that was backing up the Redcoats. And, of course, Washington beat a bunch of them at Trenton, New Jersey, famously. But Charlotte, the point is, in the video that we just reposted along with the PDF report you talked about at Infowars.com, you break it all down eloquently with the documents. But the British royalty funded people to go over and figure this out. And then you've got the German and the British connection funding Skull and Bones being set up as this think tank. Please continue, because this is so key, what you discovered and all these connections.
Well, it's terribly important because when I started out, I didn't understand behavior operant conditioning. It's so simple, folks. It's simply when you go to the doctor hits your knee, used to anyway, with a little hammer, and your knee pops up. It's a neurological reaction. And Wilhelm Wundt, the psychologist in the mid-1800s in Leipzig, he finally realized that he could not do anything with getting people to change their behavior just using regular philosophy and psychology, because the soul, he couldn't deal with the soul. It floats around, right? So he decided just to use the neurology. And if you can understand that, you understand why Americans just have these reflexes, and you tell them something, and if you reward them immediately, they'll do anything you want for the rest of time. But the important thing about this relationship with Skull and Bones is that Wilhelm Wundt, he was born in 1832 in Germany. His father was a minister. His grandfather, Kirchner Karl Casimir Wundt, was professor of Heidelberg University, and the Illuminati order documents that we've been able to get a hold of, that Raphael in the Illuminati is identified as the same Professor Karl Casimir Wundt, and is referred to in the Illuminati Provincial Report from Utica, 1782. Now, that is the grandfather of Wilhelm Wundt. So this method that is being introduced in the United States, mainly, of course, to the computer, because as B.F. Skinner said, the computer is my box, and Skinner followed in the steps of Pavlov, who, interestingly enough, was trained by Wundt, not the other way around. So what's going in now is this method I'm talking to you about this minute, operant conditioning. Now, you know it with your dog. You know, you want your dog to sit. You give him he sits. You give him a dog biscuit. He'll sit for you the next time. When I first saw this in the U.S. Department of Ed, I wondered, all these books that I would see in the bookshelves of the department said, what works? And I didn't pay much attention. One day I pulled it out, a book out, and I saw, this is under Carol Bell.
Yeah, this is some of the big secrets here. Stay there. Charlotte Iserbyt is our guest. The amazing book, back in print, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, available at Infowars.com. By the way, we've got the West Point grad who was arrested for photographing police here in Austin. It's a big story now a national story, because it looks like they set him up. He's going to be in studio with us. He's pretty stressed out from all the attention he's given. He's going to be on the nightly news tonight. We've got some other guests as well. Paul Watson will do the news portion. I'm going to do the interviews, the two interviews this evening. The comedian and social commentary guy, Lionel, will also be on with us via Skype. But let's go back to Charlotte Iserbyt. This is a short segment, long segment coming up. So, Charlotte, you start discovering all of this, and then now years later are able to tie it into Skull and Bones. But you were saying you pulled off the shelf at the Department of Education this book that was talking about what works.
What works? Well, what works is animal psychology. And that's just what I told you. With your dog, you can train your dog. It's very, very simple. All of you must understand that that is the computer technology. When your child has the computer, which is, no more books. Books are down the tubes. All the history of this is in my book, which is the abbreviated version, but it's a fantastic version. Nothing chronological has been taken out. And this is the history of what happened. But it's getting into the computer. When the top people, like at WICAT, World Institute for Computer Assisted Teaching, Dustin Houston said this, folks, and parents, listen. He knew what was coming. This was 20 years ago. He said, won't it be wonderful when the student in the most remote part of the country can have the equivalent of 5 of the world's greatest psychologists on the computer, and nobody will be able to get between the student and the software, the computer. So it's just very, very dangerous. And even the top educators who are involved in computer technology, ones that I got fired for leaking a document by one of these educators. It was one of his major grants, Better Education Skills Through Technology. This fellow, Donald Ely, he admitted in his internal papers that if you don't agree as a computer tech guy or professor, if you don't agree with the message, you do not put it on that software. You have to have a conscience because it is so powerful. Now, folks, this is what's going in now. No more books. Now, what we're going to say...
Well, I mean, it allows total centralization.
This is what Skull and Bones brought back into the United States from Wilhelm Wundt, who was directly connected with the Illuminati. This is what they brought back to this G. Stanley Hall into the United States. They stacked all of the universities, Columbia, Chicago, etc., with people like Dewey, Thorndike, et al., who believe man is nothing but an animal to be trained. Now, C.S. Lewis was the one who said, when you stop educating and you start training, which is what they're doing right now for the planned economy, global, when you stop educating and you start training, civilization dies. Now, that's C.S. Lewis, all right? Now, my little book, the abbreviated version, is fantastic. All the sections that have been taken out, the big chunks, the appendices, the index, etc., are available free at my website. It's a free download, the old book, the big baby. So anybody who wants to check on what may have been removed, there's 3 little dark D's whenever something's removed, they just go on the internet. But it's a very user-friendly, beautiful book. I find myself, my son said to me, Mom, I've never seen you reading your book as much as you're reading it now. Well, I am, because it's so nice and small and handy, and I just delight in my own book. It was always very, very big, and we had people who loved it, obviously, or it wouldn't be out of print and selling for $1,000 in some places, you know, ridiculous, $200, $400, $600 at Amazon. It's the old book, right? So the people who've got old copies or whatever. But it was always large and rather cumbersome. So now this is a beautiful version that you can give to your friends.
It is. Charlotte, stay there. Let's come back. We got to go to break. Let's tie in the Illuminati to Skull and Bones to education. Yesterday, I interviewed an investigative journalist breaking down government documents where over 40 known cancer viruses were added to the polio vaccines. It's still done. I have other top scientists and doctors like Russell Blaylock on, and the only conclusion they can come to is that it's being done by design. The aspartame, the MSG, the additives. And then lo and behold, we have all these UN and Club of Rome documents in Rockefeller Foundation where they're adding the chemicals into the food, the water, the additives, the printer ink. And so Charlotte Iserbyt's hitting it from another angle, breaking down Skull and Bones, and where the elite got this philosophy to dumb people down. Now, they put this fog of chemicals and things out there, but then to make us animals and to tell us we're animals that don't have free will, while they play the part of God, these Illuminati believe they are man, we are the profane animal. But to make us the animal, they bombard us with this and then try to train us, not educate us. And that's programming versus learning the mysteries of the world, learning to enjoy knowledge and systems. They want people to be very, very one-dimensional. Now, Charlotte Iserbyt is not only one of the most famous whistleblowers, and I'm building her up. You know, she'll talk herself down, but I mean, she was the head of policy, Department of Education, that blew the whistle, brought the documents out, got basically fired over it, and her book documents that, the deliberate dumbing down of America. But then she's also the lady that helped give Anthony Sutton the material that exposed Skull and Bones. But in decades later, continuing to research, that was hiding under her nose as well, that it was Skull and Bones that actually set the modern policy for all of this. Now you were getting into the Illuminati connections. Charlotte, go ahead.
Well, this is fascinating. I mean, things that happen in my life are unbelievable. You're right. For about 30 years, I did all the research on B.F. Skinner and Pavlov and how these methods, like the reading method, direct instruction, that the conservatives managed to get across the country now because it's necessary for workforce training. Of course, they got into reading first, experimenting on the minorities with it, etc. But I was studying this stuff, and I knew it makes children sick. I have a friend, a great teacher in Arizona, Ann Herzer, who educated me, and I have all the documents from doctors about how this operant conditioning, these programs make children sick. And, anyway, so here I'm looking at all this. I have all the major documents. It takes me quite a long time. I understand that, but I had no idea that the order at Yale that my father and grandfather belonged to, it was the order that actually brought this method back from Germany. And it's very interesting. You see, the Germans are extremely involved in this. They were, and perhaps still are. I mean, in the fluoride thing and all. Dennis Cuddy's just my son is reading, and which deals with how all of this stuff is the Germans, it's Nazi stuff too. So it's not just the communists, it's the Nazis, the fascists, the socialists. I always say America's not an ism country, but we are really deep in the mess right now with the isms. But anyway, going back to the order, so little Charlotte, the one that gets fired from the department for leaking these documents, I knew how bad the Department of Education was. It's total Marxist factory, right? All of a sudden, I find out, most of this, I found out from Anthony Sutton, who had done the research. He's the one who found out about the connection with Wilhelm Wundt with the Illuminati. Wilhelm Wundt's grandfather was a member of the Illuminati. Well, I remember I sent Tony Sutton, there were some documents in German that I never saw again, but I sent them to Sutton. I didn't know what they were, but Sutton got them, and I don't know whether I lost them when he returned them. But anyway, I am quite truly convinced that, let's look at it this way, folks. There is nothing more important than the loss of free will. We have a soul and a conscience. What was brought back from Germany, operant conditioning, Pavlov studied under Wundt, this is the method to destroy the human individual made in the image of God, to destroy his conscience. You must remember this. You probably think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. This is what we're looking at. This is more important than anything being talked about in the news today. The loss of the conscience. I've written a lot on this. It's on the internet. You can find my articles. This is what happened when the order at Yale decided to get their guys, educated in Germany, and many of actually, it was G. Stanley Hall was the first one, and he admits to being half a Marxist himself, back in the mid-1800s, mind you. He admitted to that. So he brings it back. It's picked up by Dewey and Thorndike, etc., and the method goes into the teachers' colleges, and our teachers are trained to train our students. Train, not educate. Of course, this didn't happen until 1965. Now, the results of this, one could see this morning. I opened up the computer, and I was Fox News, interesting enough, which won't cover my book, of course, but they did cover, like, oh, my goodness me, how can this be possible? This Jack Chambers, an economic professor at a college, I didn't get it all written down, he asked his students what the American dream means to them. This is in college. And he asked specifically, what do you want the government, what do you think the government should do? Well, 10%, good for them, said, leave me alone. 80% said that the government should take care of their vacations, make sure they get a good job, give them health care, give them housing, and that the wealthy should be taxed more. Now, there was one individual who said, can you believe this one? As human beings, we are not responsible for our actions. We need the government to keep us in line, sort of. Now, that's not a direct quote. I just sort of remember that. But first of all, this individual who says we need the government to keep us in line and we're not responsible for our actions, that student evidently was very carefully trained in Darwin. There were animals, so they made a mistake. They still think they're human beings, but they're not.
Well, you're right.
People have been conditioned and trained like animals all the way through from the time that G. Stanley Hall went over to Germany for the order and came back, retrained, and now what we're looking at is the computer technology is nothing but Pavlovian.
And that allows total centralization of the message, but expanding on that, and we see a global curriculum being standardized. I've seen the studies that there are now more sociopaths than there used to be, and even more psychopaths, and that the system is creating artificial sociopaths. Normally their numbers were much lower, but they can also have it where they flip on a switch that makes you a sociopath, but they can flip it back off when they want you to feel. So it's total programming. It's like they're biological androids, and it's so scientifically done. How is their plan going along for them from your deep research of this from every angle?
Well, I'm afraid they're highly successful. And the reason for this, Alex, is another thing that has always bewildered us. Why is it that, for instance, when I wrote my book in 1985, the little 39-pager, Back to Basics Reform, that exposed all of this Skinner stuff and said it was for a world government which would arrive, you know, in the 21st century, all of that, that book was boycotted across the board by the conservative movement. If that book had been listened to in 1985, we might not have this Skinnerian opera conditioning on the computers, et cetera, right now. But they boycotted. Now wait a minute, isn't that interesting? The conservatives. This is under Ronald Reagan, okay? And so anyway, that happened, and then I wrote my big book because I figured maybe this will go. Well, that was boycotted by them too. They've done nothing to get the big book. They do not want this information out. Now, I'm sure the Democrats are involved in it as well, and they've paid for the funding, and they love the Department of Education, blah, blah, blah. But I have to say that the school to work agenda, which requires school choice is the most devastatingly bad thing that ever happened to this country, because it's not really school choice whatsoever. It's federally funded charter schools that don't have elected officials running them, because the corporations are going to run those charter schools to train for the workforce with the Skinnerian opera conditioning on the computer. Now, this is the conservatives supporting this, because conservatives are notable for wanting to make money, right? I mean, we know that there's nothing wrong with making money. But when you decide that you're going to turn your children over to be nothing but slaves in this planned economy, to be moved around the world, and a lot of these quotes from my book from educators, they're going to be moved around the world wherever they need them, using nothing but computer technology, opera conditioning, etc., to train them lifelong, all of this.
Yeah, but Charlotte, there's also all these globalist groups now pushing the solution to the New World Order is mega computers that make all the decisions for us, but really those computers are programmed by the globalists themselves. It's a new form of tyranny.
Yes, it is. And Alex, what we have to understand is that we've lost the. I hate to say this, and maybe it's not completely true, but I believe we have lost the Christian community. Because the Christian community, the evangelicals, we always depended on them to support us in trying to get rid of these bad programs. Especially, you know, Skinner and all. I never got any support for them from that community. In fact, they even said that some of us were nutty. They said that we didn't know what we were talking about with Skinner. We were wrong about these computerized, individualized education software and all. They went up against us. And I always wonder what is going on. Well, now we know, because they have, they have been trained by Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker went all over the country.
I'll tell you what, stay there. Let's expose.
Systems.
Sure, let's expose that and talk about Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They now are funding and running a lot of these, quote, charter schools. Part of it, of course, is tax money still. And they're openly teaching eugenics, kill granny for money. I mean, everything. Whistleblower, author, researcher, patriot. And again, she's not against you having school choice, but this is now just the corporations taking over the old local, quote, independent school district system, draining off their funding, putting only in a little bit of their money, and getting control. Now, you were breaking down how you discovered why you were blocked by, quote, conservatives, but then also take the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They are involved in education at every level. They're involved, just like Obama was, breaking up local schools and turning them over to corporations. That's what they're now doing. And I could play clips of Bill Gates up there saying, you don't give grandma health care, we can hire 10 teachers, and the teachers clapping. So they're even selling this idea of cannibalism, that you take something away from somebody, you get their resources. That's not how the world really works. It's a win-win-win. Build the pie system is what we want, not a post-industrial shut-it-down system. So it's incredibly dangerous and classically authoritarian, but you notice with the TSA checkpoints and the groping of our families, I mean, they admit the TSA stuff is to break you, is to train you, is to Pavlovianly get you used to them putting their hands on your body. I mean, this is all dog training, as you said.
Well, yes, Yes, Alex. And talking about the Gates Foundation, Bill Gates is totally involved in putting us under this international socialist system, or whatever you want to call it, fascist, communist, totalitarian system. He's very involved. I mean, Microsoft has got agreements with communist China and Russia and everywhere, and Gates has signed all sorts of agreements himself, and so really bad. Now, talking about the foundations, let's get there. The tax-exempt foundations. You can go to my son's website, AmericanDeception.com, and you've got the transcript of the congressional investigation of the tax-exempt foundations there. There was only one copy left in the country 3 years ago because the foundations bought up all the copies. They didn't want the American people to know what had happened in 1953 when all these traitors had to answer questions during the investigation. They bought up all the copies. They got them all out of circulation except this one. The person I bought it from, I understand that he was offered any amount of money for that one copy, and he turned it down. I got the copy. My son put it up on the website. 3,000 pages of documentation. That was the investigation where Norman Dodd of the Reese Committee went up to New York, and off the record, that's why it's not on the internet, it's not in the transcript, but off the record, the president of the Ford Foundation, Rowan Gaither, said to him, Mr. Dodd, we get our instructions from the White House how to use our money. Eisenhower at the peak of the Cold War, that was. And the instructions were to change America. The foundation should change America to such an extent it could be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union. Now, look, of course, you say it's dead. No, it's not. Communism, fascism, socialism, internationalism are all exactly what Gaither was talking
Exactly.
about.
A fool sent me emails saying you're calling it fascist or socialist. They're two different things. No, there's different dressing, little different tweaks, but it's all black uniforms, all government run, all surveillance, all state planned, with the corporations over it. It's all the same thing.
That's exactly what we're looking at. So what Dodd was told is absolutely correct. Gaither told him it would be this merger. And if you go back to Lenin said, look, first of all countries individually become socialist. Then
that's what Carroll Quigley wrote. He said there's not a difference between fascism and communism. We work with all of it. We are creating a fusion of it.
But they merge, once they're socialist, then they merge in regions. So we've got all the regions being set up. Gorbachev called the European Union the new European Soviet. And now the regionalism is communism. And that quote is in my book. Very interesting quote. Look it up. Morris Zeitlin, he's a communist, wrote the Communist Daily World in the 70s. He said the United States has got to go have more regional government because it worked so well in the Soviet Union. It's going in now, folks, all over the place with sustainable development, dropping borders, getting rid of elected officials. Don't forget, charter schools don't have elected officials. So you're paying taxes to run these charter schools, which use a federal test.
And all it really is a globalist school.
Yes, and those schools, 60% of the federal test is attitudinal, how they feel about the environment, what they think about the UN or whatever, do they believe in God? 60% of that test that the charter school students must take, because it's a federally funded entity, is political. Now, remember this.
Yeah, so they remove true education about issues and about ideas and about science. It just all turns into pablum, so the kids are good little robots, and they burn that time up not really teaching them. We'll be right back with solutions. Stay there, Charlotte. Final segment straight ahead with our guest, then News Blitz coming up. All right, it's our final segment with Charlotte Iserbyt. And again, we're selling the book. She has the old big thick version up for free on her website and just didn't want to deal with the hard copy anymore. And people convinced her, hey, this is important to have a hard copy of. They can shut stuff off the web really easy. So she's put out a new updated, abridged, revised, shorter one. It's only 450-something pages long. It's excellent. And every teacher, every educator, needs a copy of this, because then everything will make sense to them. And it has all the documents. I mean, she was the head of policy. That's the #2 position at the Department of Education. She's published the documents where they admit they want a global Soviet system run by the mega elite. They want to shut down all their competition. And you notice everything we warn you about keeps happening because we've got all their documents. That's what's so frustrating about this. Charlotte, we're getting into a key point there as we went to break. Please continue.
Well, I don't know where I was on that one, Alex, but all I can say is, because we don't have much time left, I want, first of all, I do, the reason for the book is that I felt it had to come out at this time. I think that book is really very, very important. There are many books out there, but this gives you not just education history, but the history of the insiders for the beginning of the last century, or even going back into the 1800s. It's the Federal Reserve. It's everything else, too, that's in there. What happened? Disarmament, blah, 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 go on. Ronald Reagan signing the agreements with the Soviet Union, and the Carnegie Corporation role in agreements with the Soviet Academy of Science. All of these things, and again, I will say the conservatives got to understand this. I hate to say it, but you have not been informed of these things because the conservatives, let's call them neoconservatives, not Goldwater people, they have been infiltrated, the Republican Party badly infiltrated by the left. So you've got both parties are left and are, you can call them either socialist or Marxist or fascist. Doesn't make any difference. Both parties are controlled, and that's why we haven't been able to get this information out. What I want you to do is don't get discouraged. You've got to keep fighting. And the reason I say this is there have been many, many people, and I gave a lot of credit to these people in the beginning of my book. I've known them. Some are dead, etc. They, the insiders, expected to bring us down, certainly in the 80s. The 1976 200th anniversary, we were meant to be basically going down. We didn't. We're still here. If those people had given up, the ones that you and I know, and a lot of us oldsters know, they're gone now, magnificent Americans who fought for freedom, for the Constitutional. If they had given up, I wouldn't even be on this program today. And Alice wouldn't have a show. So you cannot give up. You have to keep fighting this battle. And the tool to fight it, I think, because of course I love my own book, is my little book. And it's smaller. You can't complain anymore about it being, you can't take it on vacation. It weighs too much. Now, the other thing I want to say is there's only one person out there that we can vote for the Republican Party. There's only one person. Absolutely, there's no question about it, and it's Ron Paul. It is ridiculous what's going on now. It's evil what's going on right now. They're doing to him what they did to Goldwater back in the 60s when they had that film of the little girl in the field with the poppies and the bomb going off. They're going to do that to him, too.
Yeah, they're saying we'll get nuked if you elect Ron Paul. Same thing LBJ did.
Right. So, look, folks, we've got good stuff out there now. We've got Ron Paul. I'm going to keep fighting. Alex is great. He's going to keep fighting.
Well, Charlotte, as you know, I mean, 20, 30, 40 years ago, almost nobody knew about this stuff because it was so incredible. You mean their tyrants want to slowly take over? Now it's all coming to fruition. Yeah. The crop is coming in. We told folks what those plants were going to grow. Before I was born, you were warning people.
That's right.
And then now we see, oh, this is tyranny they're setting up. I've never seen such an awakening happening. Now, some are awakening. That's happening faster. But others are getting deeper into the trance, and you cannot reach them because they've been so damaged by the brainwashing, by the chemicals. But it's never a majority that turns things around. It's an evil minority or a good minority that are going to decide the destiny of the human species, and our minority is swelling. We are much bigger than the criminals.
The young people are so important. Let me say to you, don't waste time on people my age, really, because they are so pathetic with their golf clubs, their retirement. I mean, they are pathetic. I'm sorry to say it. Maybe there are a few out there who aren't, but don't waste your time on them. Put your time into the young people getting out of high school and college. Get in there, just like Ron Paul said. There's this huge awakening among young people. And you know what? The schools may have done a good job, like I pointed out earlier, with 80% or whatever of those college students. But I don't believe it's all that bad. I think that the young people really are beginning to understand that they have been had. And so focus.
Well, you know they create a fake consensus with all these fake polls. I mean, they've now, it's even, quote, mainstream news that there was fraud all over Iowa, just as we said 2-3 days ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that it's so brazen, Charlotte.
Yes, it is, and I think that's why I think the young people know this. And the other thing is, Ron Paul really is the anti-war cat. candidate. And if he was smart, that's what he would run on, even though he's anti-Federal Reserve and he'd love to get rid of the Department of Education. He's the only one who's really mentioned that, isn't he? His platform is superb, and they say it's kooky. Oh, wait a minute. Look, I always love it when people call me a kook. You know why? And I tell them, thank you, because the greatest Americans and people in the Soviet Union, etc., Solzhenitsyn, all these people who cherished freedom were called kooks at the time. And so if someone calls you a kook, thank them. And say, you know, you put me in really good company. I'm in with Solzhenitsyn. I'm in with all these great people who fought for freedom.
Well, as you know, Charlotte, a doodle dandy was the biggest insult the British could give each other. And I don't want to tell people what it means, but it's a slang.
Yeah.
But you know what? We said, good, we're going to have a song called Yankee Doodle Dandy.
That's very interesting. Good for you, Alex. I didn't know that. But, you know, the thing is that that is Brock Chisholm. That's all those guys, Alger Hiss in 1945 at the UN, who said they're going to use psychiatry, you know, to get rid of our conscience. These are the people who said we're crazy, see? We're crazy because we think. And because we know that we know war is wrong, but we know that sometimes you have to take a stand. But they don't want us.
No. They teach us to not be warlike so they can wage war on us. They say, truce.
That's exactly what we are. Our military is nothing but the United Nations military arm. To parole the whole world has nothing to do with protecting the United States.
And the good part for the globalist is when they do all this imperial evil and the massacres, their own globalist media tells the world about it and then blames America, and then we're domestically told it's great and everybody loves us for the future destruction of this country politically. I mean, the globalists are such masters that they have America doing all their dirty work. I mean, Rupert Murdoch's publications will badmouth the war and stuff overseas, but then domestically he's all for it. And again, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't play by any rules. The book is available at Infowars.com. with deliberate dumbing down of America, a new edition, a smaller edition. It's been out of print for a year, available at Infowars.com. And Charlotte, thank you for putting the book back out. I know the big, thick one is free on your website, and give folks that address as well for people that can't afford the soft cover. Okay,
it's deliberatedumbingdown.com. And you can just go there and you can read it on the internet. It's a big book to read on the internet, but please, that's why it's there. And AmericanDeception.com is also a free website for all the documents to back up.
And let's be clear, when you send a friend or family or teacher the email with the link, people don't tend to appreciate something that's free. It's like, here's all this work, it's free, please warn people, here's the total blueprint of the enemy operation in education. This is what, yeah, you say the schools, you know, George Carlin said they want you dumb. Well, here's the proof. Yeah, George Carlin's right. Here's their own criminal blueprint, all put together for you, all sourced. And tell people, you better look at this. But most people will still appreciate a book. So if you do buy the book, it's like, here, I read it, here it is, school teacher. I've got the most important parts highlighted, or to your school board or whatever, because most of these people are not evil operatives. They have grown up multi-generationally in this, and now it's getting so deep. Charlotte, look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Well, thanks a lot, Alex, and keep up your good work, and Happy New Year to all your listeners.
Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Bye-bye.
All right, there goes Charlotte Thomson Iserbyt, the book, Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, available at Infowars.com, or by calling 888-253-3139 here at our office. You can also write to us at P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760. We also have the Everything Special. We're calling it the New Year Special. I've never had a deal this good, but we're going to keep it running for the rest of the month because it's getting the word out. All 18 of my films on DVD for $99.95. All of them. Obama Deception, Fall of the Republic, Endgame, Terror Storm. $99.95 right now, normally 360 smackers. And your funding of this operation allows us to continue and hopefully expand. And we're really working hard here, as you know. You don't need me to tell you that humanity is in a deep crisis. Everyone can feel it. We know a tectonic struggle is now taking place between the forces of freedom and those who love darkness, bondage, and enslavement. Yes, my friends, evil is rising. But take heart, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Recently, New World Order operative Hillary Clinton admitted they're losing the info war.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
The globalists are scared. They've overreached. The future of the info war is in your hands. Join prisonplanet.tv. Download the thousands of special video reports, ebooks, and more, and get them out to everyone you know. Continue to spread the word about the broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and every other globalist propaganda platform. We are going to use their system against them. The info war now goes into high gear.
Last interview that we did on this, I thought, I was looking through some of my old files, and I found a very interesting article from one of the little old patriotic newsletters that we managed to get around the country in regard to Harold Howe and how he was responsible under Lyndon Johnson for all the major changes in education using, of course, the minorities to bring about the destruction of our education system that we're looking at today. With consolidation, getting rid of little schools and all this. Remember way back in the 60s, they said it was because they wanted the minorities to have a better education. That wasn't it at all. Harold Howe came out and said with this integration, he was going to totally turn the education system on its head. And so they put in busing, and they did all this, that. And here my little head is going, I'm thinking, Harold Howe, you know what? I'm going to go take a look in one of those.
Well, Charlotte, listen, I want you to get into that. But for you to say, I know nothing about it and giggle, you gave Anthony...
But it really dealt with everything, right? I didn't deal so much with the order, and I will deal with that within about 2 minutes. But it dealt with my whole life since I went abroad when I was 21 years old. And it's beautifully done. It's a transcript. The gals transcribed that video, Alex. And then one of our most talented people, Deborah Niwa, who's in publishing and graphics and all, put it all together, even has a picture of my little dog on it and my husband and me, as a PDF. So your listeners can click on that, and they can read that. It's 16 pages. That's the video that your great guys did when they were up here, the first one. Then the second one was on the order, and I don't know what, that has not been transcribed, but I hope people will go and look at it because it has had a maximum number of hits. These have been very good videos, and by the way, I just think your guys are great. You have a tremendously capable...
Setting the documents, the materials, the roll list, the information when nothing was known. Your father, his father were Skull and Bones, I mean, you do know a lot. Your son knows a ton. A lot of ground.
We know a lot, but listen, Alex, what I want people to know is this is so important. And you interrupted me, okay? Harold Howe, I looked him up. Here, you want to hear what he was at Skull and Bones? He's Skull and Bones. Now, this, I'm going to say, this convinces me that the order at Yale, and I didn't really have to be too much convinced, but when I found this out, I'm convinced that the order at Yale of Skull and Bones is responsible for the complete transformation of American education to workforce training, to considering our children as nothing but animals, which was the philosophy of Wilhelm Wundt in Leipzig, who trained all the American educators, staff there, with creating these videos. But listen, I found out something about the order. It's great. Actually, I found out more about the order since you got onto it, and actually since Anthony Sutton got onto it, than I ever knew before, because obviously, as George Bush would say, it's a secret, so I can't talk about it. I mean, I don't know anything about it, basically, because it was a secret, and my father and grandfather couldn't talk about it, but I did know all their friends, and that really helped out a great deal. There's a tremendous amount. There's a very interesting chapter in Chris Milligan's book on the order. What's it called? Fleshing Out Skull and Bones. That book has not been reprinted, but it's a wonderful book, Fleshing Out Skull and Bones. And Chris Milligan knew Anthony Stoughton, too. I did a chapter in there that's quite interesting. If anybody wants to go, I think it's you may be able to find that on the Internet, about my family's connections as well. Now, what I absolutely...
Okay, so joining us is Charlotte Iserbyt to break down this information. Charlotte, it is wonderful to have you here. I want to go to the beginning, briefly, Skull and Bones, the tie-in, and then what the plan was, what you discovered in the 80s as the head of policy, #2 position, Department of Education, your whistleblowing, and now what's currently happening with education, your warning for the public. But we salute you for your work, and thank you for reissuing a new book. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thank you, all of your audience, for your support, through the years. I think the best place for people to go is, and you have that PDF, I believe, up on your website now. At least
yes.
I asked for that. It's a PDF, and it's called America's Road to Ruin. And there were two marvelous gals, researchers that I respect highly, very involved in the extraordinary research all of us have done on this, who heard that first video that was filmed on the river here, saw it, Alex's video, that those guys did a good job on, and it was in regard to education.